The oppressive humidity clung to the five friends, Selina, James, Leo, Mike, and Emma, as they ventured deeper into the infamous Boal National Park. Warnings of its unmarked trails and unpredictable wildlife had been shrugged off in their youthful exuberance, a thirst for adventure overriding caution. Now, the dense canopy choked out the sunlight, turning the familiar greens into menacing shadows. "Are you sure this is the right way, Leo?" Emma asked, swatting at a persistent mosquito. Leo, the self-proclaimed expert hiker, consulted his outdated phone map, a frown creasing his brow. Yeah, almost to the waterfall." Hours bled into the muggy afternoon. The promised waterfall remained elusive, replaced by a growing unease. The usual sounds of the forest, birdsong, rustling leaves, had given way to an unnerving silence. It was James who first noticed the crude markings on the trees, twisted symbols carved deep into the bark, unlike anything they'd ever seen. "What are those?" he muttered, tracing one with his finger. Selina shivered. "They give me the creeps." Their unease intensified when they stumbled upon a small clearing. In the center stood a dilapidated stone structure, overgrown with vines. An unnatural stillness hung in the air around it. As they cautiously approached, a guttural chant echoed from within. The language was foreign, ancient-sounding. Suddenly, figures emerged from the shadows of the trees. They were gaunt, their eyes wild, their clothing ragged and stained. Their skin bore similar markings to the trees. Fear clamped down on the friends' throats. "Let's get out of here," Mike whispered, turning to flee. But they were already surrounded. The figures moved with a speed that belied their emaciated appearance. Their faces, contorted in a silent snarl, revealed rows of filed teeth. The stench that emanated from them was primal, sickening. James, athletic and quick-thinking, shoved Selina forward. "Run!" Chaos erupted. Leo tripped, and two of the figures descended upon him with horrifying swiftness. There was a sickening crunch, a muffled scream cut short. James grabbed Emma's hand, pulling her through the dense undergrowth, but the cultists were relentless, their bare feet silent on the forest floor. Mike, in a desperate attempt to create a diversion, threw a rock at their pursuers. It glanced off one's head, barely causing a flinch. He wasn't fast enough. They swarmed him, their thin, sinewy arms surprisingly strong. His cries of terror echoed briefly before being silenced. Selina and James, with Emma struggling to keep pace, pushed deeper into the woods. The sounds of their friends' gruesome ends spurred them forward, a raw, primal fear their only motivator. But the cultists were closing in, their strange chanting growing louder. James felt a sharp pain in his leg. He'd stumbled into a crudely concealed pit lined with sharpened stakes. He cried out, collapsing. Emma screamed, trying to pull him free, but the cultists were upon them. Their leader, a tall, skeletal figure adorned with feathers and bone trinkets, stepped forward. His eyes, hollow and ancient, fixed on Selina. He spoke in the same guttural tongue they'd heard earlier, his voice raspy, like dry leaves rustling. Selina, paralyzed by terror, could only watch as they dragged James, still alive but incapacitated, towards the dilapidated stone structure. His muffled pleas faded into the distance. Emma, sobbing uncontrollably, was next. They seized her, her struggles futile against their combined strength. Selina watched, a silent scream building in her chest, as her friend was carried away, her eyes locking with Selina's for a fleeting moment, a look of utter despair etched on her face. Then, it was Selina's turn. Rough hands grabbed her, their grip like iron. She tried to run but failed against their inhumane speed. She fought, kicked, and screamed, but it was no use. They dragged her towards the clearing, the stench of decay and something else, something metallic and sickening, growing stronger with each step. Inside the stone structure, Selina's horror reached its peak. The air was thick with the coppery smell of blood. Crude altars made of bone were scattered around the chamber. The remains of their friends, partially consumed limbs, bloodied clothing, were strewn across the floor. The cultists, their faces illuminated by flickering torchlight, began their gruesome ritual. Selina was hauled roughly towards the nearest altar, her back scraping against jagged, calcified edges. The cult leader, his ancient, hollow eyes gleaming with a hunger that transcended mere physical need, leaned close. His breath was hot and reeked of stale blood in damp earth. He wasn't just eating for sustenance, this was worship, a communion of flesh and devotion. A horrifying numbness began to spread through Selena, not from pain, but from the absolute, crushing certainty of her fate. She could feel the rough, calloused hands of the cultists on her limbs, positioning her. Her struggles weakened, becoming futile twitches as she realized they were not merely consuming, but preparing. A sharp, obsidian blade glinted in the torchlight, brought methodically towards her. She could feel the chilling drag of its edge against her skin before the pain even registered, a precise, ritualistic incision. She tasted bile, but also something metallic and sickeningly sweet in the air. Her last conscious moments were of the rhythmic chanting growing to a fever pitch, the cold precision of the blade, the unsettling, almost joyous glint in the cultist's ancient eyes, and the terrifying, absolute understanding that her flesh, her very essence, was not simply being taken, but being offered, becoming part of their horrifying, eternal cycle. 3 years later, drawn by the forest's lingering, unsolved mysteries, 4 friends ventured into its depths, unaware of the sinister fate that awaited them.